So we just finished this review, just sticking this at the beginning. We just wanted to give a shout out to Jerry and Jamie and all the other vets out there, and thank you all and send love to you guys. And there's also, after minute 41, there's like help lines. Anyway, hope you guys enjoy this and love a vet today.
I'm Vin.
I'm Sori.
That's Sparky. The swear jar has gone the way of all flesh.
Yep. It ceased to exist.
Yeah, the people have spoken. Nobody liked their name getting
No.
People are like, why should we suffer for
Right. Why should we be punished for you guys' potty mouth?
for Vin's sins? Okay, so Sparky's just sitting back with the Eye of Sauron and judging us. So there you are. We are going to be doing Five Finger Death Punch. It's the first time we've ever done this band, so we're going to put them in the underground band. And I know they're probably not an underground band, but again, we put bands in the underground show based on how frequently they get requested. So like Gojira is probably not as big as Five Finger Death Punch, but in the Vin and Sori universe they are. Now probably after we do this video, we'll probably get an influx of Five Finger Death Punch people, and then maybe they will get graduated to main stage. So please don't be angry or offended that we put this in the underground show, okay? Because we're not saying that they're an underground band. We're saying in the Vin and Sori universe, in the village,
right,
they're currently an underground band because they're not asked for as much as Tool or Gojira or even Behemoth.
It's true.
Okay? So don't be angry.
Don't be mad at us.
What's the name of this song?
I keep wanting to say South Side of Heaven. It's Wrong Side of Heaven.
Yeah, South of Heaven is a Slayer song.
Oh.
Yeah.
Maybe that's why it's in
So
my
they
head.
did a song called South of Heaven. So I'm assuming this is probably going to be like another, I don't know, maybe a modern version of South of Heaven? I don't know.
We shall see.
Wrong Side of Heaven. Let's do it. Five Finger Death Punch. Let's rock and roll.
I'm no hero. closer every day. One wide open, I stand alone. I'm no hero, and I'm not made of stone. Right or wrong, I can hardly tell. I'm on the wrong side of heaven and the righteous side of hell. The wrong side of heaven and the righteous side of hell. The wrong side of heaven and the righteous side of hell.
Gosh. One every 2 hours?
Yeah, man. You got Memorial Day this Monday. That's tough, you know, because I got
Memorial Day this Monday?
yeah, I got
I think
a
we picked this on purpose.
yeah, I got a family member that's going through a tough time. He's military. Shout out to the big homie. Damn. It's tough.
I hate, like,
I
don't want to see anybody. Yeah, I don't want to see anybody like having to live homeless and not being taken care of and stuff. But like, if you've put your life on the line for people and for their freedoms and stuff, and you know, I can't imagine what that would feel like to know like that you did all of that and you sacrificed. They had to sacrifice so much to even do that, you know, family wise, and then to come back and to feel so changed by what you saw and what you experienced, and to feel like people don't understand where you're coming from, and people haven't been where you've been. You know, I think about it so much. I remember you told me that like about that guy, like he had, you know, gone away and he had been like seeing so much overseas, and when he came back and his wife, like, she broke her fingernail or something like that, and she was all upset about it.
Yeah, Chris
and it
Kyle.
was like, he can't, you know, it's a fingernail, lady. But she hasn't seen what he's seen, so, I mean, she's been growing out her nails for X amount of time, and she wanted them all perfect, and then there's a broken one, and it was just, you know, I can see, like, her frustration, but how petty that seems in comparison to you've seen, you know, lives ended.
And you've ended lives.
And you've ended lives, yeah. And to, you know...
yeah.
And to know that we don't have, like, you hear it all the time, like, that we don't take care of our veterans, like, that they come back and, like, they're homeless, they barely have enough to live on, and then, you know, they're suicidal, they have so many psychological issues because of what they've taken part in and what they've seen, that, and we don't have, I don't understand not having something, like, this has been an ongoing problem for so long, why we don't have something set up for them is beyond me. Like, it's so frustrating. Like, it's not like the first time I can see that, you know, we kind of got established and then we had guys coming back like, okay, you're not prepared for it, but what the fuck? You're prepared for it now, you know? Like, what's going on? Seriously, what's going on? Is there not enough money going to, like, take care of them when they come back? Or is the money being wasted? I mean, what is happening?
Yeah, you know, I was watching, I think it's Band of Brothers, you know, World War II.
Yeah.
And when these guys came home from World War II, I mean, they were still screwed up.
Yeah.
You know, they had a really difficult time. But they came back and there were parades. I mean, they were received as heroes, you know. And, you know, I commented on this in the Holy War video where I said, you know, after World War II, basically, you know, we didn't have a war like that where you had a clearly defined bad guy.
Uh-huh.
You know, so Vietnam rolls around, and there were a lot of cultural revolutions that was happening, you know, end of the 50s into the 60s that were happening. And so one of the things that was happening was that a lot of our cultural mores, the things that, like, were the bedrocks of our society, we were starting to test that. So like women were burning their bras, you know, free love movement, all these rules and institutions. We're going, fuck that, we don't need that. And one of the institutions was the military, and the American soldier was almost deified back in the day. And so then what happened was that also fell too, right? So these guys had come back home and they're getting spit on, they're getting, you know, and so ever since Vietnam, you know, really like these guys were not coming back to, you know, and then you had the whole Jane Fonda situation where she basically, this American famous actress goes and hangs out with the Viet Cong and basically says all the Americans suck and they're terrible, evil, terrorists, and yeah, baby kill. That's where the whole baby killer thing came and all the rest of it. And there's a lot of complexities to it, but, you know, the way that these guys were treated, and I don't think that we ever really recovered from the way that we treated those soldiers back then. So that, you know, as time moved on, we never really got back to that, you know, World War II era type of reverence for the soldier. And it became, and you know...
Why?
I think sometimes like people, countries, ideas, cultures make certain points of no return. And I think, you know, it was a very self-destructive act. And these guys were, you know, spit in their face, whole nine yards.
That's terrible. But see, even if you don't, like, agree with it, why spit on somebody? And, like, these guys were coming back from, they had seen so much. Like, you can't have a little compassion on somebody and try to understand their point of view.
And the other side is a lot of these dudes were drafted. You know what I mean? Like, it's not a, you know... But so Robert Gross has this book called Killology.
Yep.
And he was talking about the concept of killing and how difficult that is in the human mind, and how much and how cultures dealt with killing and the necessity of warfare because of, you know, just human nature. And you always have a segment of your population that gets tasked by the other population to go kill people for the sake of the stability of the other population. So during Vietnam, yeah, it wasn't our country and it wasn't our fight, but the narrative was, this is communism, right? So the Russians were funding the Viet Cong, and so this was a way for us to get at Russia and a way for Russia to get at us. So it was like, a lot of the guys that were going in initially is like, we're fighting communism. And then you go over there and you're in this quagmire. I could talk about it for hours, but basically, Robert Gross has this book about killology, which is kind of like a lazy title. But he basically says every culture basically makes a silent contract with the people that they send out to kill. So when these guys come back, you see it in every culture. There's always rewards and celebration and medals for warriors, because
that's where you see that famous picture of the girl getting kissed in the nurse that he's kissing in the
right after World War II or whatever. And and there's a celebration and the hoopla, and then the warriors get rewarded. And the reason that the culture rewards warriors is because somebody has to. The culture's job is to say, okay, we sent you out to kill. You killed those people. You did a good thing,
and that will help you in their darkest times.
You feel terrible, but let's go and affirm that you did the right thing. Yep. Let's affirm that you did a good thing.
To combat the negative thoughts of the reality of what you saw.
Yeah, because if you take it from a biblical point of view, from inside, you just killed another image bearer of God, no matter how terrible he is. But even if you take it from an atheistic perspective, it's counterintuitive to our species to take the life of another member of your species. So
especially a lot of times it's in a militant sense, so that means you're fighting other soldiers who are also not the weakest of their people. Right.
Well, that's a very good point. So even from a Darwinian perspective, you've got an active conscience against that thing because it's counterintuitive to our growth, to our gene pool. So So the society's job is to say, good, you did a good job, here's your medal for killing people, blah, blah, blah. And we don't call it medal for killing, we call it the
Purple Heart, right?
Combat Valor, Purple Heart is if you get hit.
Oh, yeah.
I was listening to this Navy SEAL one time and he was like, he goes, that's why I have 3 silver stars and no Purple Hearts. And he was talking about as soon as he saw somebody, he would, he would engage because he's like, I don't care what you guys say. So that's initially how most cultures dealt with their warriors, and there's also this understanding that no war is clean, and so you did some dirt. Like, you know,
Yeah.
And this is the whole thing about the generation that stood up against Vietnam. It's like, hello, Dresden in World War II, we bombed the hell out of a bunch of civilians and set them on fire by the thousands. We bombed Dresden like crazy. You know, the Allies bombed the hell out of Dresden. And honestly, we didn't even need to do it from a strategic perspective. Like, I'm not a fan of the A-bomb and what we did in Hiroshima and Nagasaki, but by all intents and purposes, it ended the war, and going into ground with that would have made D-Day look like a walk through a cabbage patch field. So, like, I get it. Dresden, we didn't even need to do that. So, anytime you go to war, there's atrocities, and cities get killed. I mean, that's it. But we had the sense of mind after World War II when these guys got back home. We weren't going to say any of it. We weren't going to talk about that. Okay, you did what you needed to do in the social contract. Congratulations. Here's your rose, and move on. But then after Vietnam, we got smart and we were like, oh yeah, you baby killer and blah, and spitting on people and all this crazy shit. As if this country wasn't established on war and atrocities in the first place. So now, but the point is, you made that social contract with the soldier. So then he goes and does what you tell him to do. And now you want to come back and judge this guy, and I think that's the concept of the wrong side of heaven and the
because you know what?
righteous side of hell.
If you think about it, I don't condone killing, so let me get that clear.
Right.
But if you're going to be
pacifists.
the person, right, we're pacifists. But if you're going to be the person that's going to go out and actually do it, or you're going to be the person that sits back and enjoys the freedoms of what happened, you know what I'm saying? Like, at least that person was, I guess, like, man enough or person enough to say, I'm going to go face to face the person. We're killing people by just sitting here and enjoy. You know what I'm saying? Like, we're enjoying the freedoms and we're okay with them going over there. But then when they come back and do what we want them to do, then we're going to act like that? Come on, people. That's wrong.
Well, I think that's the point of the title, The Wrong Side of Heaven, The Righteous Side of Hell. Meaning, they're judged for doing this terrible thing, but at the same time, they're righteous in the sense of, well, I was doing what you told me to do. And you would be sitting there on your comfy little couch watching YouTube judging us if I didn't kill people and if if I didn't have to watch my brothers bleed out in front of me.
Right.
So it's
I saw this guy today when I was going to get the kids, and he was holding a sign, and I couldn't even read his sign because I think he was probably a vet, because people they have a different look to them. They don't look like, some people just look like they've just been sitting around their whole life, and then other people look like they've accomplished stuff, but shit's gotten bad for them, He stuck out to me because I've never seen a black guy on the side of the road holding a sign. That was what made him stick out to me. But I was like, I don't know. Sometimes I freeze because I'm so sad about something and I don't want to think about it. I know that's terrible, but, like...
No, I hear you.
And I never have cash on me, so I could have even given him a couple bucks. I don't know.
And, so I spoke to God. No, he personifies God as a woman. That's interesting.
That was interesting.
She said that she's ashamed. She's said that she's ashamed. What have I become? I think a lot of this is when he talks about God, he's talking about maybe his wife, maybe his mom.
Really?
Because a lot of these things, it said like military divorces are up like 46%. They were already terrible, but they're up by like 46%. That's pretty terrible. It's pretty terrible, especially.
She said that she's ashamed. What have I become? What have I done?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's true. Oh.
Yeah, and so it's like...
And then what is he? Is he the devil? I spoke to the devil today, and he swears he's not to blame, and I understood because I feel the same.
Well,
wait, who would be the devil?
Well, I just think the devil is the devil. Because it's basically he's saying that these guys are getting demonized.
Yeah.
See what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And God might be even America herself, Because sometimes nations are personified as women.
Yeah, I bet you're right.
So it's like... here's America. She sends you off to war, and then you come back.
It's got to be America. I don't think it's his wife. It might be a double, but I think that it's primarily talking about America.
Yeah.
Especially given the video.
Yeah. What have I become? Whatever. So he speaks. So he's being demonized. So when he says, "I spoke to the devil," he swears he's not to blame because the devil's sort of like the arch, blameworthy person, right? And so basically now he's in league with the devil because the country that he served, which is basically God to him, has now demonized him, so now he's the devil.
I'm not sure. I feel there's something else about that we're missing.
What, the devil?
Yeah. So if God is America, conspiracy's not to blame. I mean, could that be the military?
It's as I understood because I feel the same. It might be his buddy, you know.
Yeah,
But I just think if you go with the title, The Wrong Side of Heaven,
yeah.
that you know, it's talking about them being demonized, I think.
Oh no, I definitely think that, yeah.
Arms wide open, I stand alone. I'm no hero, and I'm not made of stone. Right or wrong, I can hardly tell.
Oh,
And you have to deal with that sort of conundrum for the rest of your
I bet.
You know, even if the guy was going to kill you,
I know.
you know.
Yeah.
And, you know, I'm friends with a lot of those guys, and you know, there's only one person I've ever met that was like, yeah, I killed bunches of people and fuck those guys, I don't care, and I believed it. Well, two, that guy in Texas that wanted me to come over as rain, the Delta guy. I was like, yeah, I kind of it's tough to do, man. He was in Somalia doing the whole Black Hawk Down thing.
Oh wow.
And you know, we talk, and he basically said his only regret was that he wasn't able to go back out there and just you know.
Yeah, but other than that, all the other people are.
Everybody else was, you know, in the unguarded moments that you get. There's one time when there was this kid. They were in Iraq, and the kid was saying, "Where's my dad? Where's my dad?" He just killed his dad. His dad was over there. You know what I mean? Like, so it's like right or wrong, I can hardly tell.
Yeah,
you know,
because
like,
it's kill or be killed.
Well, yeah, and you know, there's a whole situation about Iraq, and you know,
Terrible position to put people
and these guys. Well, that's the thing. It's like the dichotomy that you made between the troops and the politicians who pull the strings and get those guys over there needs to be made. And so you can argue all day about, was their presence there what then armed the other people, so that when you go to engage that guy wouldn't have engaged you if you weren't on his property. I get it.
Right.
But that's the situation that we put the guy in. And I don't care how, I'm a pacifist, and we're very, very nuanced in our pacifism. I don't advocate for the complete dissolution of the military. And if you want to talk to me about that, we'll probably do a Q&A podcast at some point. But I don't care how liberal you are and how much of a bleeding heart you are. Nobody wants to dissolve the military.
Right.
Because we all know that the minute that we do that, we're fucked.
Yeah, if there's
Like,
not another system that's set up that's stronger than that,
that's
then
right.
yeah.
Very good. Very good. Yeah. And so this idea, I think we're probably, I'll have to really look, but historic, I'm just going through the rigmarole. Like, the Roman military was terrible. They were a terrible oppressive system, but even the average Roman citizen knew to show respect to the Roman military. Now, I get it. If they didn't, there would have been a consequence, but you know, it's one of those things where
Yeah, I can't believe that.
these guys fought for the freedom of speech, so they fought for the very freedom for you to disrespect and dishonor them. But in doing so, we've completely wrecked the entire demographic of people who are basically, you know, Chris Kyle said, when a guy joins the military, he writes a blank check to America, up to and including his life, is what he says. I mean, these guys, and you gotta understand, like, these guys are incredible human beings. And I'm not just saying it because I've got people very close to me that I love dearly, and but it's just an incredible person who will say, I'm willing to die for you. I don't even know who you freaking are. There's 400 million people in America. And worse, and for me, worse than I'm willing to die for you, I'm willing to kill for you. I mean, it's unbelievable. And then they come back here, and you know, the least we can do is give them a few bucks on the side of the street. It sucks. You know, we've got to do better for these guys, man.
What happened at the end of the video?
So
He saved that guy's life.
well, yeah, they were in a situation, and the guy saved him. And, you know, it goes to the future where they're both out, and he's a businessman, and but the other guy that saved him is on the street. And, you know, he said, hey, you saved my life, brother, blah, blah, blah. And, you know, that was a beautiful moment. I'm sure that's happened thousands of times in this country.
I held in so much crying at that part. I'm still holding it in.
Yeah. I'm no hero and I'm not made of stone. That's a good line.
Yeah, it made me think of like you know, like people think like you're like robotic and stuff like that because you barely get any sleep, you work so hard, you like go all in when you do stuff, and you're so smart and stuff, and then like they'll, you know, sometimes they'll take advantage of you because they forget that you're human. And so it made me think of like these people, I'm sure that the same thing, you know, like they're soldiers, and so but they're not made of stone. And then like the whole, like a lot of times when we watch military things, like when they come back because they've seen so much and they've taken part in so much that they're like, no, I'm not a hero, and it like is upsetting to them to be called a hero because of everything that they saw and did. I mean, it's not like they were just walking down the street and there was a child that was going to get run over and they scooped the kid out of the road and they're a hero, you know? There was like so much had to take place for them to get to the point. Lives had to be lost so lives could be saved, and so it becomes such a mess. It's like they don't even want to be like called a hero, even though they did heroic things, you know. You talk.
Well, yeah. I've never really met a hero who thought they were a hero. But, yeah, I mean, these guys, and then there's so many complexities. Like, for example, oh, you saved 2 lives. Yeah, but there's a third guy who's dead, and you can't do numbers like that.
Yeah.
In their mind, they're not worried about the 2 guys that they saved. They're worried about the guy they couldn't save, you know?
Right.
Marcus Luttrell, it's like 4 on, 70 guys, and he's the only one that made it out.
Yeah.
And, I mean, the whole lone survivor situation, and I remember talking to somebody who knew him, and he got the jacket of one of his guys that died, and he just lay down there in the living room, like just like real terrible stuff that,
Gosh.
horrible situation. So none of these guys feels like heroes because they're just thinking about the person that got left behind, or the person that died, or the person that, they couldn't save, or the stray bullet that hit a kid that they had no intention of doing, or having to walk up to and then the other side of that is, even the guys that are not in combat, this is something that people don't realize, even if you're not in a combat MOS or a combat job in the military, these guys are still getting traumatized like crazy.
Yes.
They still spend time away from their families. They still, geez, we're apart for an hour and a half. I'm like, come back home. Well, where are you? Where are you? You know what I mean? Like,
the groceries, honey.
These guys are spending 12, 18, 24 months away from their loved one. Even if they're not in a combat MOS, these people still are scared to death that their spouse isn't going to make it home. The type of...
And they've got to be worried that when they get home, what if their spouse isn't there? Because, like, I bet there's a bunch of times where the, like, wife or girlfriend or whatever doesn't want to send the letter because she doesn't want to make him, like, off emotionally while he's there, so she waits till he gets back. So in the back of his head, even though he hasn't gotten a letter, he wonders if there is still one waiting for him, in a sense, when he gets home. So there's got to be a level of stress there that you can't, unless you, completely, like, know, like, the person, but how rare is that?
Yeah. Yeah, if you're in the military or have been in the military, hit us up on in Messenger and see if we can't do something for you. We're poor as hell. That's why we're doing the Patreon thing. But no, seriously, like, we'll figure something out.
Yeah, definitely.
I'm not defending downward descending, furling farther away. Yeah, those suicide stats are crazy. Because you think to yourself, like, think about the irony of that whole thing. Like, the entire time that you're over there, it's about getting home.
And now you're home.
And
home doesn't want you.
Home, it's just not the same. Like, nobody can understand you. Nobody can, whatever. And, you and a lot of these guys are like, man, I'm just better to re-up and get back in there and get back in the fight.
Yeah, because they all understand each other. And
Yeah, they all love each other,
Yeah.
And
oh my gosh.
And it's like dodging bullets and dodging IEDs and all this shit, and then you come home and kill yourself. That's a really, that should say it all, Like,
every 2 hours.
Yeah.
I just don't.
And that's the ones that are reported.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly.
What about the guy who gets himself ossified drunk and gets behind the wheel of a car knowing very well that he's not going to make it? But he does it anyway and, runs into a tree. And then he gets listed as a drunk driving issue when it's really not. Mm-hmm. Or he ODs on drugs on purpose. Right. You know what I mean? So I think the number is higher.
You're probably right. I don't even want to think about that.
Yeah. Yeah, the number's higher. And it is a...
So if you feel like that, there must be veteran hotlines.
Yeah, there's a hotline that was listed at the end of the video.
We'll put it in our description.
We'll post it in the link as well. I mean, we don't, obviously, like I said, I barely graduated high school. None of us have the ability to do that type of counseling, but we can definitely direct you to places where you'd be able to...
And we can pray for you, too. Like, if you let us know that you want prayer,
if you're that
your
type of
situation,
person,
and we will do that for sure.
That's absolutely what we're about, for sure. It's just tough. It's a tough... That one, if I would have known what the song was about, I'd have been a little bit more emotionally prepared to handle it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But that was like out of nowhere. I thought.
What did you think it was going to be about?
Well, I thought it was going to be like a modern Slayer type of thing, because it's south of, like you said, south of heaven, wrong side of heaven. I thought it was going to be like a rebellion type thing.
Okay.
So this was like out of nowhere,
I thought it was going to be like artistic. Just by the name of the title, I was like, oh, I bet it's going to be something artistic. And I didn't even, I think I didn't even realize, as the song was going, I wasn't even sure if the video that was playing with it went with the song. I was like, is this supposed to be the same thing? So, part of my mind was distracted to say, gosh, did I grab the wrong thing here or what? But then I started realizing, no, my gosh, this is the same thing, and they did this on purpose. And then, I felt sad because just seeing the stuff that you saw and the stuff that it was saying, and then seeing like when the guy was getting arrested and he had the gun in his back, and he's they've had weapons the whole time, but now it's they take that away from him, and then it's what he knew, and the familiar, I don't know, I felt sad, and then when they were putting him in the back of the, I don't know, I just felt bad. I just want them, I want them to be, and I know that I'm not in, my family wasn't further, my great uncles were in the military, but not nobody in my immediate family was. So the fact that I've heard about veterans are not getting the help that they need, I've heard that a lot over the years. So I'm this is got to be a problem that I've heard of it, as many times and in as many different places that I've heard of it. That means, but it's it doesn't gain the momentum that it needs to gain for there to be some actual change, for them.
Yeah, and I want to say, if you're a person who doesn't believe in war and doesn't believe in the wars that we've engaged in over the last decade, I'm not saying that you're a bad person for holding that opinion. What I am saying, though, is regardless of what you feel about, Bush or Obama or Trump, the fact of the matter is, if we didn't have these guys outside of our gates, it's there's this quote, and it basically says, in order for you to sleep at night, good men must do violence on your behalf. And that's the reality. Until the time when we beat our swords into plowshares, that's the reality.
Yeah.
And they're doing something that 9.5 out of 10 of us would never do. Mm-hmm. And so that's all I'm saying. I'm not saying that this now means that I think you're a terrible person if you don't support war and warfare. I'm just saying the human beings that put their life on the line for us, whatever you think of the people pulling the strings, those are the people that we should honor, is all I'm saying.
The other thing too is, were you done?
No, go ahead.
Just even with our Patreon account, we haven't even, promoted it or anything like that. And there's quite a few people that are putting $1 a month. And you think to yourself, I mean, what's $1,
It's
when you're donating it.
Huge.
But when you think about if, you know, 1,000 people donate $1, and you know what I'm saying? Like, if just everybody just said, you know what, I could put $1. Like, sometimes I think we try to think too big, and then we say, I can't do that. I can't put $20 a month, you know, or like supporting a compassion child is $38 a month per child. I can't do that. I can't fit that in my budget. But could you do $1? Like, so with the veteran thing, if you know, people said, you know, I could do $1. Like, I think on here it's gonna show like where you can. It says if you want to join the cause and help, like there's ways. Just everybody, like, let's just donate $1. Like, how could, you know,
Yeah,
help
seriously,
them?
this is a Wounded Warrior Foundation.
Right.
And seriously, I'll say it right now. If you were going to give $1 to us today, just give that to the Wounded Warrior
Right.
Foundation. Really good foundation. And I'll talk to Jerry. Jerry's one of our originals. Maybe he's got some other foundations and stuff that we can promote. And hold us accountable. You know, if 2 months goes by and we don't have something on our website, or our website is coming, we don't have something on our website or anything like that, hold us accountable and remind us, because I don't want this to just be a moment. You know, I want it to be something that we actually do.
And we're gonna do it too. Like, after this video shuts off, I'm gonna get the information and I'll do my $1 for the month. There. So we all do $1.
Yeah, I mean, the last thing I'll say is, you know, traditionally speaking, Jesus is crucified between two thieves, but he wasn't crucified between. The Greek word actually means insurrectionist.
Right.
And so during the time of Jesus, you had these Roman occupiers, right? The Romans were basically oppressing you, and you had this group of people who said, fuck that, we're not taking that. And they took their swords and they went to war, and they knew if they got caught,
that was it.
They would be crucified.
Yep.
So these two thieves that are getting crucified next to Jesus, they're usually portrayed as these, you know, just disgusting, horrible, terrible, nasty, evil, rotten people. When in reality, they were patriotic people who were willing to give their lives for their country.
Because the Romans they might randomly grab somebody and crucify them just to keep the fear of the people. So, you know, you were having family members and different people being crucified. So you hated them. You were very angry at them. So an insurrectionist was almost somebody. He was almost like your hero, because you were like, finally, somebody's standing up against them.
They were hands down.
Yeah.
Hands down heroes, because they knew that the minute they took up that sword, that they were putting their life on the line for the sake of their nation.
When I was a kid, I never understood, like, it made no sense to me how you had Jesus and you had Barabbas, and how they said the people started screaming that they wanted Barabbas. I was like, why would they want him? He was a murderer. Well, I didn't realize that he was killing the Romans.
Yeah, Barabbas.
So
he was.
Barabbas
fit
more their Messiah than Jesus did, because Jesus wasn't killing anybody.
Yeah, Barabbas was the general of the insurrection. Basically.
Yeah, it just.
So, but the point is that Jesus is crucified between two warriors.
Yep.
And of course, one of them turns to him and isn't a very eloquent man. All he says is, "Hey, man, remember me." And Jesus says, "Remember you. You're going to be with me today." You know, and so it's really ironic thinking about this song, you know, like The Wrong Side of Heaven, like these guys feel so judged by God.
Yeah. But
in God's sovereignty and his plan, it just so happens that Jesus is crucified next to two warriors. And that when he's dying beside two warriors who have gone all the way and killed people. And it's interesting because one of the other warrior guys says to his buddy, "Hey, we're being crucified we deserve this," which is interesting. Which means that even though he's killing his oppressor, he still feels guilty for killing.
Right.
And you know, a lot of times we try to say, "Oh, don't feel bad," da 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 da. And I think there's a message there in the sense of whatever you feel guilty about, just put it on Jesus. You know, whatever you feel guilty about. And it's just crazy to me to listen to this song. I'm like, damn, Jesus dies with warriors. He went down with two warriors, and I think that that's a very, very significant thing. It means a lot to me. It means that, you know, there is no, you know, I'm not, Jesus didn't come to judge you either, even if you've done the ultimate thing or taken part in the ultimate thing. Let's say you pushed a button and murdered a bunch of people. There's still forgiveness there, and the idea that he goes down into the ground with warriors so that he can rise up for peace.
Yes.
Because that's what we all want ultimately. So it's a pretty crazy thing as I'm watching that video. So anyway, that's just getting a 10 for me.
Oh my word! Stop it! I was gonna give this one a 10, and I'm like, this is weird because usually when it's like kind of like an emotional
So
song, we don't
significant,
rate
we
it. But
don't
I'm
vote.
like, no, motherfucker, I'm rating this one, and it's getting a 10.
It's getting a 10.
And you're listening. Give me. That's so exciting.
You almost slapped me. That's getting a 10. It's going in the vault. It's something I'm
You
going to
sure
show
you don't
my
want to
kids.
throw your? Just kidding.
All right, guys. So I'm gonna get Sori some counseling. Vin out.
Sorry out.
Gone.